Well, before we came on air, I spoke to Johnny Mercer, the Conservative MP who, before entering Parliament, was captain in the Royal Artillery and served in Afghanistan. I asked him if it was the first time he had ever heard of such allegations.
Well, during my time of doing that sort of work in 2008 through to 2009, I never saw any of this sort of behaviour.
Heard about it, heard reports of it, or talk of it, or gossip?
There's always talk of stories going around theatre. There is always Chinese whispers. There's always stories that get blown out of something they're not. I think that's the nature of warfare, and we have to be very clear between the difference between those and unlawful acts that have happened. And if unlawful acts are found to have happened, then clearly we will deal with those in the appropriate process.
You were very active in the campaign against vexatious claims in relation to allegations against British troops in Iraq. When you look at what the stories are from Afghanistan, do you think these are very different to the situation in Iraq?
I think they are different, yes. I mean, the work I did around closing down the Iraq Historical Allegations team was, something that was at the end of that process, really, where the system was being completely abused and persecuting soldiers for incidents which had never happened in the first place. I think, whichever workforce you're in, if people come forward with allegations of wrongdoing or unlawful conduct, you want to take action. The values and standards that certainly when I was serving, and I know still exist within the British Army, are not compatible with what was in that Sunday Times article.
How would you describe the allegations as you've read them and tried to make sense of them?
Well, these terms, sort of rogue units and so on, they sound great in the films and so on. I'm interested in the reality of it, and whether or not individuals have broken the law whilst conducting operations on behalf of this nation. It's a very clear line. I think when we start using these terms that perhaps aren't as clear, and we're looking to, in a way, sensationalise, I think, what has gone on. But let's remember that these are allegations at the moment. I know they will be looked at. I know the Army and the MOD has an ability to hold itself to account. I have faith in that process.
But there are people who are saying that these investigations are being closed down before they've had really a chance to get going. Now, is that you're confident that there's no cover-up, basically? It sounds like you're confident there's no cover-up.
I'm confident that the individuals who I served with, who I know are still serving, the chain of command in the military side of the MOD, would not accept any of this behaviour on operations. And where there is evidence, and that evidence is critically important, right, where there is evidence, they will drill down on that and find out what is going on. I'm content that they would not cover this up. I don't know anybody who's serving who thinks that unlawful behaviour on operations is acceptable in any way whatsoever, regardless of cap badge, regardless of rank.
If you read, for example, the comments under the Sunday Times report, many of the commenters will obviously say, well, these guys are trying to protect us, this is guerrilla war, it's completely different to the sorts of wars of the First World War, Second World War, and we need to hold these things to a different standard. Are they right to take that view or not?
No, they're not. I fought in that conflict, and I don't know anybody who fought in that conflict and did the operations we did who believes that there is ever a reason to conduct unlawful behaviour. We try and give ourselves some legitimacy, some credibility when we're trying to stabilise these countries. We're very clear where the law is. That's what separates us from the enemy. You can't go around behaving in this manner and expect to win a counterinsurgency operation where you have to bring the population on side, and ultimately it is their country, and these solutions are all Afghan or Iraq solutions depending on where you're operating. So no, there aren't people in the military, I'm afraid, who think that this is a terribly dirty war and we behave like everybody else. I'm afraid we are a professional army. There are things that set us apart from the enemy. This is one of them, and we adhere to it.
Johnny Mercer, thank you very much. Thanks very much indeed.